Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. Alongside the czar of the playbook, it's Emery Hunt. I'm Tyler Merkovich, and today we're bringing you a 2009 preview of the Sun Belt Conference. And whenever you say Sun Belt, people think the definition is teams that BCS conferences want to schedule. These teams play a bunch of big schools along their schedules.
One thing you can see about the Sun Belt, though, they're not scared, though. They will play any team, anywhere, anytime. So you got to like the toughness of that whole conference, top to bottom.
And probably the classic division. Let's start with it's Larry Blakeney's Troy Trojans. They lost that thriller in that bowl to Southern Miss. They were 8-4 before that. They finished the season 8-5. But this year they return 7 offensive starters, 5 defensive players. They got their quarterback back, Levi Brown, and I like their trio of receivers. And Josh Jarboe, transferred from Oklahoma. This kid could really make some noise on the football field. Cornelius Williams and Jarrell Jernigan.
I was about to say the big three, Levi Brown, DeJuan Harris, and Jarrell Jernigan. Those three, that's the nucleus, the Troy offense. So I like those guys back on defense. You know, they always have a good defense. One person you want to look out for is the big incoming freshman, Eugene Kinlaw, defensive lineman. He's going to bring some pass rush ability. He's a real good guy. He's a 3-star recruit by Rivals.com.
One of 11 JUCOs they bring in, so he's doing it the JUCO way, Blakeney. And as you said, Kinlaw, this guy's going to have an impact. But when you mention their defense, one of the best names in college football is Bear Woods, the linebacker.
Bear Woods and Boris Lee both had 100+ tackles each. So those guys are tackling machine. One thing that's going to help, they're going to need those guys to make a lot of tackles, especially with the game at Florida. You know, they have another big game coming up at Arkansas State. So those are the 2 big games on their schedule. But I do like Troy to finish, top in the division. They're the class of that division. One
of the youngest offensive coordinators in the game, Neil Brown. And as you said, they're going to be battle tested because they go to Florida and they go to Arkansas.
In November, you look at they have a murderous road. They have to go at Arkansas late November, like November the 14th. They get FAU, and then they have to go to UL in Lafayette, Louisiana. So they have a tough stretch in November. So whatever they get at the end is going to be well earned.
Howard Schnellenberger, former coach of the U, Miami. Now he's at FAU. Surprise team the last couple of years. Last year they started out 1-5, but I like this. I like Schnellenberger because he really battle test his team. Last year they played Minnesota, Michigan State, and Texas. This year they play at Nebraska and South Carolina, and they're led by a big 6'5" quarterback, Rusty Smith.
And Rusty Smith has a deep receiving core to go to, led by Cortez Gant and Jamari Grant. Those 2 guys, well over 10 yards a catch. Big guys that can catch and get down the field, and they run that spread offense. They lose the top rusher, but I think that with the passing game, we get Smith back again, Schnellenberger, I think those guys are going to be okay on offense. So I also like the fact that the defense has to step up, because they gave up 28 points a game. You can't do that when you're playing that big schedule that they played with the big teams in the other conferences.
Whenever you play a Big 12 team, they played Texas last year, absolutely got manhandled. But I like a guy on their defense, a cornerback, Tavius Polo.
I like Polo. Polo is a guy that could get some. He's going to be on the NFL radars at the end of the season. So look for him to play in a lot of postseason All-Star games as well too. Problem I have with their schedule: they at Nebraska and at South Carolina. They're not scared, but that's a tough 2 games slate early in the season.
As we mentioned before, they started off the season 1-5, rallied all the way to a bowl game and won it over Central Michigan, I believe, in the Motor City Bowl, right in their backyard. Let's go to a team that you like that's under the radar, you think, in this conference, and that's Arkansas State, led by Roberts, their coach, and they returned 15 starters. They got their quarterback back in Leonard, and last year to open the season, they won at Texas A&M 18-14. I know that's that at Texas A&M they're rebuilding stuff with Sherman last year, but still at that College Station, you know what their nickname is, the 12th man. So they've showed some guts here.
You can go. Arkansas State has one of the top running backs sleepers in the country, and Reggie Arnold. He's a little short. He's 5'7", but he's compact, about 195. He's a guy that led the team in rushing 1,000 yards. He can catch out the backfield. I like Reggie Arnold. He's going to help those guys out a lot. Also, you look at they have a Corey Leonard coming back as a quarterback, but he's going to get a lot of heat. Freshman of influence coming in, Philip Butterfield. Real big recruit that they was able to snatch away from a couple of big-time schools. So he's going to put some pressure on Corey. And so look for him to probably see some playing time early in the season, especially in those big games when they play those big conferences. And you look on defense, Alex Carrigan, 10.5 sacks. I like Arkansas State. These guys are my sleeper team in the Sun Belt this year. I think they can make some noise. What you say with those starters on defense returning?
The Red Wolves will travel to Nebraska and Louisville out of conference. But let's talk about a team that I like under the radar, and that's Middle Tennessee State. I know the only thing they lose on offense is their quarterback. They return 10 on offense, 6 on defense. And I like this guy, Rich Stockel. I like what he's doing. And Dasher is going to be their quarterback. If he could step up, I think Middle Tennessee could be one of your sleeper teams in this conference.
All Middle Tennessee has to do is just that quarterback has to do is turn around and hand it off to the touchdown machine, Philip Tanner. 15 touchdowns last year, 6 feet 211. So he's going to lead that offense. They have a veteran offensive line. Like you said, all 10 starters come back, sans the quarterback. So the running game is going to be real heavy. My problem is their schedule at Clemson, at FAU, at Troy, and at Maryland. That's tough. But if they can sneak 2 of those road games in conference away from Troy and FAU, they could be another sleeper team. I do like what they're building over there at Middle Tennessee.
Also play Mississippi State, which won't be a walk in the park, but they also they bring in a JUCO player, Crittenton, defensive end, who originally committed to Clemson. So this guy can make some noise on their defense also.
That's going to make that Clemson game a lot more interesting this season.
Absolutely. University of Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks, Charlie Weatherby, they return a bunch of starters. I think most in the conference, 8 on offense and 9 on defense. I know this team was 4-8 last year, and this year they got Texas, they got Arizona State, and they got Kentucky.
They get Kentucky late, and Kentucky is a team that could surprise in the SEC, so that could be a tough matchup for those guys late in the season as they trying to build momentum to win the Sun Belt Conference. The biggest question I have on offense is quarterback Trey Ravel has to step up in a hurry on the team because he's a new incoming starter. So that's the biggest question mark on offense for the Warhawks.
Whenever you have an inexperienced quarterback, that could be a problem. FIU, Mario Cristobal. He was the offensive line coach at Miami, of course. He played there. He was also the tight ends coach. They returned 16 starters off a 5-7 squad.
They're knocking on the door. They're slowly inching toward breaking through the Sun Belt and being one of the top teams in the conference. I love Ty Hilton, the wide receiver out there, makes a lot of plays. Problem is they have a tough schedule, and that's the common theme with the Sun Belt Conference. But I do like Ty Hilton. He's gonna help open up the game a little bit. He can also return kicks and punts. But the problem, they're knocking on the door. Give them 2 more years, they'll be in the top half of the conference.